Hello, welcome back to everybody that's tuned in to the American Ultra Stock channel. Big video today where we are reviewing the USMNT roster. It has finally dropped. The Nations League, which is our last preparation, well, active, real, competitive preparation for the Copa America, the big one during the summer, is here. We'll be facing Jamaica, and hopefully we face Mexico in the finals. But anyways, these are the guys that Greg Berhalter elected to help us along the way, and thinks that they are enough to lead us to continuing our supremacy in the region. Straight to the point, Braden, just your initial thoughts before we dive into position by position. What do you think?
Firstly, just respect Panama. I think they have a better chance than most people might think. But yeah, I think a lot of people are saying this is one of Greg's best rosters ever. I disagree. We'll get into why more later on in the video. We'll go position by position. But I think there's some concerns that I have about this roster. I'm not saying it's bad by any means. I think it's still very solid for the most part, but I think there's some things that could be changed. And I think in particular, since he did get rehired, I think a lot of his rosters have been very solid. And I don't know if this is his best one.
Yeah, and you guys can see right here on the screen as well. We're putting the roster so you can have an initial look at it. And yeah, I think that it has been unanimously a consensus amongst the fan base that his rosters have gotten significantly better. But then again, he's doing the bare minimum, really. We have a good red generation. But anyways, dive into the position groups right here. For the goalkeeping position, this is one that we always say it's kind of up for grabs. We see the reality of Matt Turner this season. Things have gone downhill, but Drake Callender, Ethan Horvath, and Matt Turner. Braden, who do you think starts? Do you think it's the obvious Matt Turner, or is there a shout for Horvath? Who would you start? And what do you think about the inclusion of the Inter Miami goalkeeper as the third goalkeeper? Doesn't really matter, but he's there.
I think that's definitely interesting. Like you said, it is up for grabs, but is it really? Because I think Matt Turner has been the #1 starter for a while now, and he hasn't really been threatened by anyone since Zach Steffen was left off the World Cup roster back in 2022. Should he be threatened by Horvath? I think, honestly, he should be. It's a little late for that to happen, to be honest. Horvath didn't really do himself any favors by staying at Nottingham Forest for the first half of the season. He maybe could have pushed to fight for Turner if he had a move in the summer. But now, with only one camp before Copa America, it might be a little too late for that. Although we did see Greg specifically shout out Horvath for his form at Cardiff in the press conference. So who knows? If you're going to try it, it has to be now. It can't be in the friendlies right before Copa America. I kind of hope it does happen, especially if we were to somehow lose this game. And in the third place game, I would love to see Horvath get a start, because at that point, we're not really playing for anything, and he deserves a chance, honestly. As for Callender, I think he might be the most bipolar goalkeeper I've ever seen. It seems like almost every game he plays so well. Like we've said in previous videos, since Messi joined Miami, I think he's been a completely new player, and I think he's been very, very good. He makes so many incredible saves. But then you see moments like against Montreal where he just has horrible, inexcusable blunders, rushing out, missing the ball. Somehow Montreal didn't score off of that, but it doesn't matter. Mistakes like that can cost you. And I've been critical of Roman Celentano in the past, who some people think is in the conversation for making mistakes. You can't ignore mistakes like that from Drake Callender as well. Honestly, I don't think it really matters that he's here. I think it's a good thing that he's here instead of Slonina, provided Slonina is at the U23 camp. Greg did say that would be better for him, but Eupen have shown reluctancy to release him in the past. Hopefully this time they can release him, since it will be the final camp before the Olympics for that group as well.
Yeah, and more on that later when the roster drops. Apparently, allegedly, it drops on Friday for the Olympic squad. But for now, it is the main ones. I would just say my little take and 2 cents here. The third goalkeeper doesn't really matter. I think rewarding him with this call up, I don't think he's really worthy of it. I know that now all the focus is on him because Inter Miami, they are the MLS favorites now, definitely for the league. But I think that he's made terrible mistakes on preseason as well, and people will overlook that. I think that it's all right. It doesn't really matter. But I would like to see Horvath start as well. I agree with you. But if Turner starts, I kind of can't go wrong with that as well, because although his form has been very shaky for the national team, everybody thinks that he's the best. So moving on to the guys that will be in front of these goalkeepers, whoever it is. Just going to read it out loud right here. It's Serginho Dest, Christopher Lund, Mark McKenzie, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Anthony Robinson, Miles Robinson, and Joe Scally. Now, a lot of obvious choices there, guys that are lockdowns for their position. I'm really happy with the fullbacks in particular. New inclusions in the center back position from what we've seen in recent rosters. One that really makes me happy, Mark McKenzie. One that not so much. What do you think, Braden?
I'll just start with the fullbacks because, like you said, they are pretty straightforward. Props to Greg for not bringing a fifth. I honestly thought it was a real possibility, especially considering his love of fullbacks, particularly right backs, and Jack Moore seems to be a personal favorite of his, Daewon Jones as well. And with Dest's suspension against Jamaica, I thought it was possible that he could do that. One concern I do have is if Joe Scally does get injured, a nightmare scenario. We don't want it to happen, obviously, but if he were to get injured early on against Jamaica, what is the situation there? Does Weah shift back to right back? I'll get into that later down the line when we discuss the forwards, but that could be an area of shakiness. But honestly, I think if Scally is on the pitch, which he should be, and we hope he will be, I think he'll do just fine. As good as Dest would have done, honestly, especially on the defensive end. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward roster there. As for the center backs, I mean, we'll say this every roster. It's never going to change. But Miles Robinson making it over Austin Trusty makes zero sense. He shouldn't be there. I mean, is his form better within the league? Sure. But Trusty's playing at a very struggling Sheffield United team. But it's in the Premier League. He's getting valuable experience in the best league in the world. And Miles is performing pretty solidly in MLS. And we've seen recently in CONCACAF Champions Cup how poor MLS is, even relative to the region compared to Liga MX teams. And none of our Liga MX players even made the roster. So I think that has to be taken into consideration as well. It would have been nice to see Austin here. I'm not really sure what more he can do. Hopefully when he's performing better in the championship next season, he can get a look. As for the other spot, it seems like Mark McKenzie is here due to CCV's injury. Greg mentioned that he's been dealing with injuries the entire season, and it's not just because of the injury right now that he didn't make it. He wants him healthy for Copa America. I don't really understand why. I still don't rate the guy until he can challenge himself outside of Scotland. I don't want him part of the team, but the reality is, same with Miles Robinson, he will be part of the A team. He'll probably be back for Copa America, and we can only hope that he performs well.
And what I will say is, I don't think that Greg really has a plan for the post-Ream era. I don't know if he's banking on Ream to just stay healthy and stay at this level, which he's already showing some decline in the Premier League. I don't think that he really has a plan for that because Austin, if you think about it, he's a left-sided, left-footed center back, really fast, at a good age, playing at a good level. Not the best team, but he's already there. The platform's there for him to build upon next season. And he doesn't really he calls Miles Robinson. Some people like him. And I don't know if an MLS player has to be a part of there. I don't know what USSF thinks, if that's a thing. But, hey, I don't think that Miles really has a future with the 18 going forward for 26. So that's what I look at, the long-term picture. I would have liked to see a little bit more of an opportunity for a guy to take over after Ream's done. But, yeah, I'm happy that McKenzie got the call up. Really happy. Regardless of that explanation that CCV will be healthy for Copa America, I'm happy for the guy. He won't have to post that meme again. But that takes us into the midfielders. Now, a big comeback that some people were speculating, and I'm happy to see, actually. I'm really happy that Tyler Adams is back in the picture. Although we did have the rating our CDM options video, make sure to click on the link. It'll be in the description. And I said that I think that right now Johnny would be the starter. I'm happy to see Tyler back. Really happy that he got some minutes today as well for Bournemouth. That's really encouraging. But yeah, let me read it out loud. Tyler Adams, Johnny Cardozo, Luca De La Torre, Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, and Gio Reyna. That's according to ESPN. These are the midfielders. Obviously, some players are a little bit hybrid, if you want to say. But, Braden, what do you think? Tyler is back. Do you expect him to get any minutes? And what do you think about the rest of the midfield position? Because although Tillman is not listed as a midfielder here, he is a midfielder. So what do you think? Who starts there? What do you think about the roster?
I'll get more into Tillman when we discuss the forwards, but I'll start with Tyler Adams. Like you said, it's so nice to see him back with the roster and back on the pitch with Bournemouth, as you mentioned, after so long. Just pray he can stay healthy and he isn't rushed back too soon. I really, really hope that Johnny's given his opportunity. The fact that Tyler is there is good for the group in general, locker room. We know he was the captain at the World Cup. He's probably the best leader within this group, him and Tim Ream, I would say. Pulisic has a shot in there as well, but he's more introverted, so I think Tyler is best suited to be the captain. But yeah, I don't want him to see him rush back in. From what Greg said, it's looking likely that he'll play a 45-minute half. I don't know if that'll be to start, come off the bench, whether it'll be against Jamaica or in either the final or the third place game. It remains to be seen. We'll just have to find out when the lineup is put out against Jamaica. But I really want to see Johnny given his opportunity. I want him to play at least one full 90, whether it's against Jamaica or in the second game, and hopefully play the other 45 as well, because this is really his opportunity to show out and make a case for that starting CDM spot. Like you mentioned, we went over the depth chart. This is his opportunity before Copa America to really surpass Tyler Adams and show that he has done that. As for the rest of the midfield, the roster makeup, like I said, I'll talk about Tillman a little more in depth later. But the fact that we do have so many midfielders here kind of makes me wonder why Luca De La Torre and Yunus Musa are both here. As for Musa, he's been a key part of the national team for a while now. Not really a starter sometimes, but a key player off the bench as well, which I anticipate he'll be for this camp. And he hasn't been in great form necessarily due to minutes at AC Milan, but when he does come on, I think he's looked very good, very composed on the ball. He's great at breaking the press, which is another key thing as well. As for Luca De La Torre, I think it's the opposite situation. He's been great at Celta Vigo, playing a little bit out of position though, which concerns me just a little bit, but he's been in great form. As for the national team, I think he's been decent, but unspectacular. I don't think he's really had a key moment yet for the national team. He doesn't ever start, so maybe that's why he doesn't get as many minutes. But honestly, I probably would have left him off this roster just due to the makeup of it. Nothing against him or his form. I just think due to the situation, I don't think he should have been there. But on form, like I said, completely merited. And I think we just should give Weston McKennie a shout out for already being back from injury when we made the roster prediction video a week ago. And again, shout out to everyone who watched that video. We got so much support on that. Thank you all. We can't emphasize it enough. But we didn't think that he'd be back in time for this. We didn't think it was possible. So he's really superhuman. Props to him for being back, and he'll be probably our most integral player here. And finally, for Gio Reyna, I think Greg was actually supportive of him for probably the first time ever in his press conference. He said that even though he hasn't been getting minutes in Nottingham Forest, he has performed well for the national team, and he wants to showcase him. Maybe get Nottingham Forest attention, get him some more minutes as the season ends out here. Because they haven't been playing him. He's been struggling a little bit due to a couple injury concerns. But USSF and Greg really want to showcase his potential here and hopefully get him some minutes before Copa America.
Yeah, I think it's nice that Gio got a little bit of love from Greg. He did say previously, not in this one, that you have to question and ponder what is the work rate that Gio puts out. So getting into that, this is why I think that Luca De La Torre and Musa are here. Maybe Greg will do the three-man workhorse midfield. I think he might do that at some point at one of the games. Definitely at some point he will. I don't know if he'll start with that. I hope he sticks with the 10 position like he did in the previous roster, in the previous Nations League call-ups and games. But I think this is why. I think that Greg is always going to fall back on into what it truly is his plan A and his vision. Lump and Crosses have a three-man workhorse midfield, but that doesn't really extract the best and the ceiling of the talent that we have in this squad. But talking about talent, let's move into the guys that really win games. They change games, the guys that are going to score the goals most likely, the forwards. Now, as we said, Malik Tillman is included in here. And then we have Fuller and Balogun, Ricardo Pepi, Christian Pulisic, Josh Sargent, and Tim Weah as well. Now, I'm really happy that we got to see all the three big strikers that people have been debating. They're all included here. So, Braden, what are your main takeaways on this group of players?
It is great to see all three of them included, and it's deserved in other cases. A little unfortunate for Haji Wright, Brendan Vasquez, and Jordan Pefok, who have all been in good form in their respective clubs and leagues. But honestly, it is what it is. I think for each particular situation, it's something different. Haji, he's been playing more of a winger instead of a striker. Should he have gotten a look at wing? I think he probably should have, but it is what it is. Vasquez, he's just not playing at a high enough level. I think once he makes the move to Europe, he'll really be more in the conversation. It's notable that he hasn't been called up under Greg ever yet, only for the Gold Cup under BJ. So that's another thing to consider. And for Pefok, I think it's just kind of a very small sample size. He hasn't really played too much when he's healthy. He starts for Gladbach, but he has had a couple of minor injuries as well. I think it's going to be key to see how much rotation there will be between the three strikers. I'm really, really hoping that all three of them are given a look in the minutes they deserve at the 9 position, not just shifted out wide. We've seen Sargent play out wide for Norwich a couple seasons ago. He's really not that great there. Pepe has even played out wide a little bit when he comes on for PSV, just trying to find minutes since they love Luke de Jong and don't ever sub him off. And he hasn't looked good on the wing either. Balogun as well has gotten into those situations, but I don't think any of the three of them should be playing out wide. So I'm hoping, at least in the second game, we'll have more rotation and just see all of them get the chance that they deserve at the 9 position. And getting into the wingers, the fact that we only have 2 real wingers is an absolutely horrible idea. Respect to Malik Tillman, he definitely should be in this roster, but he should be the backup 10, not the backup winger. He showed against Trinidad and Tobago back in November, and today even, as we record this, against Borussia Dortmund, that he is not that good as a winger, at least not yet. He still needs time to get adjusted to the position. I don't think it's where he excels. We saw it in particular against Trinidad. When him and Randa were on the pitch together, they both kind of looked lost. The positioning was a bit of a mess. Sometimes one of them was out wide, sometimes the other one was, and I don't know how well they can work together, in all honesty. I would have loved to see a more traditional winger, even someone like Haji Wright, who's actually been playing there for club and playing really well. Kevin Paredes and Cade Cowell will probably both be at the U23s. I don't want to see Cowell there. I'm just saying he's one of the players Greg mentioned. Alejandro Zendejas has been performing very well in the Yameki, similar to Brendan Vasquez. Obviously, Brendan Aronson is probably the biggest snub from this roster. He's been solid for the national team at winger as a super sub especially. Definitely has been better than Malik Tillman in wing, I'll say that. But it is what it is. Honestly, his club form probably warrants him getting dropped, as much as I don't want to say that. And I'm hoping he'll come back stronger than ever and make the Copa America roster. But yeah, those are my takes for the wingers.
Yeah, on that, I will say that maybe this is a good wake up call to every guy that missed out on the roster, specifically the ones that didn't really get too much of a mention by Greg. I think that Greg mentioning Brendan Vasquez, that was a bit of just being nice, and PFOC too, because PFOC, let's say, he's a Mr. Irrelevant. Even though I like PFOC, I think that he doesn't really have a shot with these 3 guys on form right now. And from Brendan Aronson, I think that this could be a huge moment for his career to see that, okay, things haven't gone well club-wise. I don't think it was his fault, really. The move looked good on paper, but it's a good moment for him to see that we are growing in depth. And with guys even like Haji Wright playing as a winger, is he better than Brendan Aronson? I don't know, but the numbers there for this season would justify if he was ahead of him. And I agree with you. I think that although on paper, you look at the names, this is the best roster ever, like some people are saying. But tactically, it is a little bit puzzling. How are we going to play? What are the backup options? What is the plan B? How are we going to play out, really? And we are facing a team that I think a lot of people are underestimating. I know that Jamaica is very, very underwhelming and underachieving. I think they're the biggest underachievers in the region so far, honestly. If you look at the CONCACAF, they really should have better results than a lot of teams, really. But at some point, they're bound to play well. They're bound to gel up and have a good performance, a marquee tournament, like their manager said in the press conference, looking at Berhalter. So ultimately, is this group good enough to carry us to the trophy? And do you think we'll do it, Braden?
Yeah, we'll get more in depth in each game as it gets closer. We'll make a full prediction video for the Jamaica game, analyzing that. Jamaica's roster, as we record this, is not out. It'll come out on the day that this is uploaded, the Thursday. It will be out before the video is out, so that'll be an interesting thing as well to see what players are included in there. They have a lot of firepower up top, and I like our chances. We're the only team to win CONCACAF Nations League ever. There's only been 2 editions. This is the 3rd. I think on paper, at least, we should be the favorite to maintain our title. Mexico have been going through a little bit of a struggle recently. They have some good players, obviously, but they're not the same team that they once were. Panama are a very, very good team in excellent form, but do they have enough firepower to take down even Mexico or us? I'm not sure. And Jamaica, like you said, they've been underachieving for a while now. I do think they're a new team under the new manager. I think they're going to be a very, very difficult opponent, but we'll get more into the specific games once they get closer.
Yeah, definitely. And this is a perfect moment to thank all of you guys that have been tuning into the channel. We're so happy, so blessed to have all of you guys here. Please leave a comment down below. Do you think this is the best roster ever? Any changes you guys would have liked to see? And then, as Braden alluded there, we will be covering the games with a match preview and our starting lineups for each of the games. Hopefully, as 2 games and 2 nice games, not the 3rd place one that doesn't mean anything. Again, this is the last preparation that we have, competitive preparation before Copa America. So let's hope that these guys do prove that they belong there and we get a good result. Leave a like, share with your friends, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.